Good evening again, and welcome everyone back to FractalU.com. I'm Dan Winter, as you know, and with us, I'm delighted to say we have Patrick Botti, who is our lead programmer for our 5 or 6 key biofeedback applications we'll be talking about tonight: FlameInMind.com, iThrive, ITHRVE.com, and Patrick's site, craniosacral-app.com and HRV-app.com. Tonight will be a fun intro to especially the new features of the Brainwave app, the new 4-channel In the Flow, which Patrick will tell you about. It's so cool, like an athlete that wants to learn how to be in the flow. You can teach and measure with full 4-channel EEG, very simple Muse interface, easier than putting on sunglasses, as we say, talking over Bluetooth to your iOS, iPhone, iPod, iPad. And that way you can learn the front versus rear brain dominance. The rear brain dominance characterizes the relaxed in the flow, where athletes are able to get very fast, instantaneous reflex type responses, and many other beautiful features of the FlameInMind.com Brainwave Biofeedback app. We originally started with some of the core ideas from my original Bliss Tuner, particularly teaching cross-hemispheric brainwave coherence, and key was the golden ratio, frequency ratio, alpha to beta, etc., cascade. And then with Patrick's, if I may say, programming genius, we've added many new features to FlameInMind.com and the related HRV app, iThrive.com. Also, in Flame in Mind, Patrick may speak tonight about the capability to measure EKG coherence, and empathy training. So lots of fun stuff with fabulous visuals that Patrick has prepared for tonight's conversation. I would just like to remind people how often it is we forget how key it is to be able to be in touch with your inner feelings, your inner coherence, your inner emotional coherence. And these are things that Patrick and his team are very, very skilled at, very tuned in to being aware of what's happening inside. So the ability to be coherent inside is fabulously served with biofeedback tools like the Brainwave, Flame in Mind, and iThrive apps. And so this is something that's so often forgotten in our runaround society, that the ability to be focused inside and to actually have that implosion going on in your brainwaves and in your heart is measurable, and it's teachable. It's a powerful yogic skill, and it's so often forgotten. And we present those biofeedback tools in a way which is absolutely breakthrough on this planet. The power of these biofeedback tools, which is just beginning to be recognized. But I'm delighted to say that our biofeedback apps are gaining critical mass. Interest is growing, as it should be, because this ability to actually turn on that inner fire by tuning in to what's happening inside is what's so powerfully offered by this suite of biofeedback apps. So, welcome, Shelley. Hi. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Patrick and just offer a little dialogue. But this is your show, Patrick. Thanks for being here. Everyone, Patrick Botti. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, everyone. Well, what I would like to share tonight is that there are a lot of things that we can read or heard about, like to be in presence, unity, oneness, coherence, stress, and I would like to explain a little bit, but according to physiology and also some physics. What does it mean? And the way that we can do to measure these kind of things. And also that the main thing is to be in touch with ourselves and with our body. And I will explain all the things that we have designed that can help you to do it. In fact, it's a very old graph here, which explained that the performance is related to stress, and there is a part of the graph, which is the top here, where there is a peak of creativity of performance, but related to hormone regulation This was found a long time ago, but now we can see that it can be also related to waves, and I will explain. In fact, the waves, it's very important, the waves inside our body. And that's what we are trying to measure. And what is very important, it's the interaction between the waves, the relationship between the waves, and also the ratio. And I will try to explain these things. So that's what we are doing. So to be in touch and to get back to the feeling of the body. That's what we are trying to do with our different apps. There are the different kind of apps. There are 5 apps at the moment. 3 for art parameters, so HRV, art coherence, and also 2 related to brain waves. And these are, but I think Dan already pasted the website. So there are two different websites. One which is craniosacralapp.com, and the other one, iDrive.com. iDrive.com is mainly related to HRV, and craniosacralapp.com share HRV apps, but also brainwave apps. In fact, it's very important to understand and to remember that the body is working like an hologram, and each part of the body expresses the whole body. And the proof is that you cannot produce with your voice a sound that your ear cannot catch. And it was demonstrated a long time ago by a French doctor, which is called Dr. Tomatis, and he got the golden medal in 1957, I think, of the scientific research, because he proved these kind of things. And in fact, if you make a voice analysis of different people, you can say, well, these are 2 different voice analyses. The top one is, well, you see from the left to the right, the frequencies analysis, so from 100 Hertz up to 8,000. And the top part of the graph is an old and healthy person. And you see there are a lot of frequencies which are appearing. So it's the spectrum is beautifully filled with different frequencies. And on the lower part, it's a young and stressed person. And this is a young man which is passing his exam in the university. And you see there are a lot of missing frequencies. It's important to know that there is a relationship between wave and matter. If you put some sand and on a plate, and then you send sound to the plate with different frequencies, you will get completely different shapes. And this is a relationship between the frequency, the waves, and the matter. And in fact, if you take a special pictures from different organs of the body. These are mitochondrial pictures, and you see here on the right, and on the left, this is just sand put on a plane, and they're sending different kind of waves. And you see that creating with sand, with waves, we can create shapes and we can create matter. So that it's very important to understand the relationship between the frequency, but also between waves and pulses. And it's important to understand that there is some kind, an interaction between waves, and this interaction between waves could be an addition of wave or a multiplication of wave. And there are, well, when you talk about frequencies, you can see two different things. This one here, you see, it's a sine wave with different frequencies. This is, well, the most used representation of a frequency and wave. But here on the lower part, this is a hard pulses display, and well, it's also related to a frequency. The frequency of the heartbeat is, well, let's say about around 60 times per minute. So it's also a frequency, but it's not a wave. And you will see it's very important to see that there is a relationship between what the sine wave, or the representation that we use to see as a wave, and also with the pulsation. In fact, when you, this is on the top, this is a drawing of heart pulsation, but it's not exactly like it is appearing when you make a real recording. You see here, this is a real EKG recording, and it's not a straight line. You see, there is already a wave which is appearing on the top or in the lower part. So there is a relationship between the pulses and the wave. And you can see also, if you measure, instead of measuring the electrical response of the heart, but if you measure the pressure of the blood vessel, so each time that there is a pulsation in your heart, there is a pulse of pressure, and this pulse of pressure can be measured. And in fact, it will, when you measure this pulse of pressure, it is appearing a wave on the top of these blood pulses. And this is a very important thing, because this frequency of this wave is about 10 seconds, so it's 0.1 Hertz frequency. And you see there is a relationship between the pulses, and also another wave which is appearing on the pulses. And in fact, that's what Dan is talking most of the time about. And Dan says that there is a transverse electromagnetic waves, which is in some case converted to a longitudinal electromagnetic waves. And this appear, well, it's not like we do it in water. It's not, this cone is not, it's a representation of what's happening. But in fact, it depends in this transverse wave. If we make a specific relationship between the different frequency which are part of this wave, and this is called phase conjugation. And so if these waves are fractal, what happens is that these transverse electromagnetic waves will be converted to what they call a scalar or longitudinal wave.
Yes, and that's how, and the longitudinal makes it more penetrating, more heat.
Yes, thank you, Dan. And in fact, what you can see here is that this is a transverse wave, so it's going up and down like this. And if all the frequency which are inside this wave are in specific ratio, you get these part here which are longitudinal wave and which are going this way from left to right. And it is the same thing as if we are looking at art pulses, which are also going like this. And this is the relationship between these things. And I will show you that these are some examples that I have done trying to understand what's happening. So here I have took 4 different frequency sine waves, and I add them. And the result, so the addition of these 4 sine wave with different frequency gives this green waves here. But you can also multiply this wave, and this is the result. When you make a multiplication of this wave, you get the green wave here. But what is very interesting is that when there are specific ratio between the different frequency we are generating and we are multiplying, instead of getting what we get here, so something which doesn't look like anything, in fact, you get pulses. And you get these kind of pulses when you multiply this wave, if this wave are related to specific harmonics. And it is, you get this when you're selecting the different waves according to the harmonics. And what is very, very interesting is that if instead of using the harmonics here, you select a different kind of wave, but which are related to golden ratio between them, then you will get a lot of pulses. And if you have a look at the pulses, you see there is again a wave above the different pulses. And you find back the relationship between the pulses again and the wave. So it's going both ways. And what's very interesting also is that when if 2 persons are have inside their body all the waves in the body which are, well, let's say in golden ratio, so one will make pulses, will create pulses, and if the other one also is inside a body is the frequency are in golden ratio, both frequencies will mix and also create pulses. And this is what Dan explained. That so to get this this longitudinal wave, which is also called a scalar wave, you must have frequencies that can add and multiply to produce a constructive interference. And it is only done when you are going with frequency which are related to golden ratio. So that's another way to show it. It's like a scale of where all the frequency will be in relationship with the golden number, which is here. So Dan has shown that all these, according to his equation and the scale I just show here, in fact, you will find a lot of things which are existing in the universe, but also inside our body. You will get the Schumann frequency, you will get the different frequency of the brain, you get the frequency of the breathing of a child, the frequency of the breathing of an adult, you get the sacrocranial wave, you get the different frequency of the emptiness of the ventricles. And so all the thing inside the body, in a way, are linked to these specific frequencies. And so as I showed before, you see when you make a voice analysis, you have different kind of responses, but there is a link from the different frequencies with the different part of the body. The lower part of the body will be a lower frequency, and the higher part of the body will be related to higher frequencies. And in fact, when you, as I explained in the beginning, this is here a voice analysis, and here an hearing test on the top. And in fact, there is a perfect relationship between, you see there is a big gap here in the voice analysis of this person, and there is something which is happening here on the hearing test on the same frequency. There is a crossover between what the people get with their external ear and internal ear, one which is in blue and the other in red here. And I will also want to say that there is a beautiful book which has been released a few days ago by Stéphane Cardinaux and Catherine Martin, who have made a lot of beautiful work regarding the different frequencies inside the body. And in fact, it's very, very interesting because you remember that I show you, no, yes, here, the different frequency here that Dan has found. And in fact, it's very interesting because when they measure the frequency inside the body with their new device and also with their feeling, they get the same frequency as the equation of Dan for the different chakra. And it's very, very interesting. So it means that, in fact, there is a good relationship between the Dan equation and what's happening inside the body.
In fact, Patrick, would you go back to that previous slide? The previous one with my frequencies on it? Two slides back. Yes, just briefly. So when Patrick first put this slide together, I was very grateful because it showed in the center the harmonics my equation predicted in the center long column. But on the right, it shows that the same equation predicts the center of the major craniosacral frequencies in cycles per minute, and then on the left, it also predicts the center of the brainwave frequencies. So, and then on the far left, it predicts the center of the Schumann harmonics. So then Patrick then is further applying that to what his recent work with Stéphane Cardinaux. Go ahead, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this. Yeah, and in fact, there are a lot of different ways to measure the frequency of the body and to see how the body is reacting to frequency, is displaying frequency, how the frequency are inside the body. And one of the previous device was the device from Korokov, and you see here on the top This is well, a picture, let's say, of the aura of the whole body. And on the lower part, it is the emotional part, and on the top, it is the physical part. And so you see that you can see the influence of the stress on the emission of light on the body, the emission of light or of frequency of to see how the frequency are moving and working inside the body. And on the right here, this is a completely new device which has been designed again by Stéphane Cardinaux and Catherine Martin, which is doing almost the same thing as the device from Korotkov was doing, but with a lot of more improvement, and it's very, very interesting. Okay, so I have to change. Just a second. Okay. And so all these things we have tried to measure and to display in different ways. One of the way was using HRV sensor and trying to display with small apps which are on the iPhone or iPad and display the HRV evolution, but also what is very important, the PPG also evolution. And you see here on the top, I can show you. You remember I told previously about the blood pressure pulses, and these are the blood pressure pulses which are going up and down. And as you see, there is a wave on the wave which is created by the variation of the pressure inside the blood vessel. And this variation is very, very important because it's a good indicator of if you're healthy or not, if you're young or old, and if you're stressed or not. And so there is also a relationship between, you see, between the PPG, so the pressure pulses going up and down here in orange, and in red it is the heart rate variation, so the number of pulsation per minute. And you see that there is normally a beautiful correlation between the way that the HRV, so the heart rate variation, is changing and the pressure flow inside the vessels. And this is what we have done with what we called iDrive app. iDrive app is measuring this kind of coherence which is inside the body. And we have also a small app which is displaying as I've shown, the relationship between the different frequency inside the body. We can make a relationship between the chakra and the frequency of the heart rate. And so you can display in real time which chakra is in resonance with your heart rate. And in fact, what we are measuring with this HRV sensor and with this app is trying to display the best parameters between the coherence and the state you have inside your body. And in fact, we have a specific sensor, which is a light sensor you put on your finger, and this light sensor gives this kind of signal here. You see, in fact, each time there is a blood flow in your finger, this blood flow is changing the the way that the light is going through your finger, and this will create these kind of pulses here, and we can measure the frequency of the wave which is here above. You see this wave here, we can get it and we can draw it, and
it's like the shape of the envelope.
Yes, okay, I'm sorry, I do my best with my English.
No, it's good, it's good.
Okay, and so you see what you see here. You see this is an HRV in real time in red, and from this signal here of HRV, so the variation of the pulsation, of the heart rate, I'm sorry, you can extract a spectrum, and in this spectrum there are different parts. And in fact, the most important part, well, I cannot explain all the information about this, but let's say that this part here, which is around 0.1 Hertz, which is in fact about the frequency of this wave here, is very important, because there are a lot of review in the medical papers that are explaining that when you lose this part of the spectrum here, you don't feel well, you're not healthy at all. And the more you will increase this part here, the more you will be healthy and the less you will be stressed. And so what we are doing is to extract the spectrum from HRV here in red, get the spectrum here, and then we can draw back the different frequency which are inside the HRV. And if we display this peak here, we will get the blue line here. And the yellow one is the top of this wave here. And what is very... Yes?
I don't think we can see the yellow, can we? Do we see yellow?
Okay, I can, this one maybe, wait.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Should be better here. So you see so this is HRV here on red, on the top. And then in blue, this is the part of the spectrum which is related to the 0.1 Hertz frequency, and in yellow it is the what I just show you here, which is the top. So the top of the blood pressure pulses here, of this shape here. And what is very important is that when you... Okay, let me see. So here it's well, there is no relationship between the blue and the yellow curves. So there is not, well, the two waves are not in phase, are completely different. So the electrical part of the heart, which is in blue, is not really in phase with the liquid part, which is the pressure wave. And in fact, when you're in coherent state, when all your waves are coherent inside, so the electrical component of the heart and the liquids, so the pressure component of the heart, are in phase. It's what they call in electricity the power factor. Maybe you can explain, Dan.
Yes, that's perfect. Yes, Patrick, I was so excited when I first learned more about this from Patrick, because so essentially the heart's electric peak pulse wave, which is in blue here, has a phase and a wave shape, the part of it that's near 0.1 hertz, the LF component. So the blue shows the harmonics of the LF, the electric voltage wave of the heart. Whereas in yellow, it's the pressure wave, which is the peaks of the wave that from which Patrick derives what he calls the PPG. So the change in pressure, when it's in phase with the change in voltage, is exactly what in electrical engineering is called power factor, when the voltage peak is in phase with the amperage peak, which is to say when the pressure point is in phase with the flow peak. And that's called power factor for good reason. And it's actually how we become powerful too. When we relax, the flow of our blood is in phase with the voltage peak. And there's that you actually deliver maximum wattage in every sense of the term. It's a very profound idea. So it's a way to learn relaxation. Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So this is one of the main things that we are doing with this app. And we have noticed, in fact, that when people, well, this is a beautiful indicator of stress. When there is a beautiful fit between the pressure wave and the electrical wave, you get really, you're not stressed at all, and you have a very good buffer to face stress. So this is one of the major part. Well, I cannot talk a lot about this app tonight because there are a lot of things to say about the other one, which is regarding the brainwave. But I just wanted to mention, because we are the only one we are using this kind of measurement and making the relationship between the pressure and the electrical component of the heart.
And eventually that becomes key to teaching stress management as well. That actually when you're de-stressing, it comes into phase.
And what we are also doing, well, this is just what I've shown now is for small practice. So practice about 10 minutes, 20 minutes. But we can, with this app, we can also make a much longer recording, up to 8 hours. And so we can make a night, we can make a night analysis. And on this night analysis, what we can do is to get the different shape on the different part of the night. And in fact, this different shape of the different part of the night can be simply extracted by seeing which kind of frequency are appearing in the heart rate. And you see the different, it's clearly appearing the different part of the shape during the night.
Maybe, Patrick, could you go back to that slide for just a minute? Just to say how profound and powerful that is. If you're learning the need for access to deep sleep and preparing for lucid dream, to learn whether you're getting the deep sleep, you see the HRV components, the LF versus HF tell you what stage of sleep. And normally doing 8-hour overnight sleep analysis costs big bucks in the hospitals. It's very well known among doctors. But now this is available in our iThrive app. It's beautiful that Patrick has put it there. But please continue, Patrick.
Yeah, okay, but that's what I wanted to show. Well, in fact, you see again here the different shape of the different part of the night, the different colors which are related to the different frequency we are extracting from the heart. And well, this is how normally you're working, during a night, a different phase, different stage that you can go from different cycles to the other. And what is very, very important is the part which is related to what they call deep sleep. And in fact, we have we can measure also the deep sleep part, which will be here display in blue. I try to zoom. So you see, we are making a special kind of analysis of the heart rate, and the
100 pounds of OG and 200 pounds of Jamal from Edgar right here.
The lower part of the analysis is related to deep sleep. So you see much more deep sleep here, and less deep sleep from this night here. And the deep sleep is very, very important, because this is the part of the night that you are recovering, and it is very, very important. If you lose this part, if this part is not enough present, you will not be healthy.
There was a famous Star Trek episode in which the ship's counselor found out everybody got grouchy because nobody on the ship was getting deep sleep. But Patrick, the deep sleep is indicated by VLF to HF ratio. That's what's in blue. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, that's a way that we are extracting it. In fact, that we have measured we have made a lot of measurement, a lot of night measurement, and we have also compared with all the paper that have been published, and in fact it's very, very interesting, because it seems that the VLF and HF ratio. Well, the problem is that I have to explain also what is VLF and HF. Well, you remember I just show you. No, it's in the other one. Yes, here. If we go here. So you remember this is HRV here. So heart rate variation, 60 per minute, 70 per minute, and so on. And when you are analyzing this HRV and extract the spectrum, we can define 3 different bands in the spectrum. One which is called very low frequency, which is in orange here. One which is called low frequency, which is in blue, light blue, and high frequency, which is in dark blue here. And if we are analyzing, so here so it's VLFs, the VLF on HF ratio, so the very low frequency part of the spectrum over the high frequency part of the spectrum will give us an indication of what's happening during your night. Because in the very deep sleep part of your night, you don't move at all. This part is a very specific part of the night. There is no movement at all of the body. And maybe I can show you just a second. If you just as you ask it.
Just to remind you that the LF, HF, and VLF harmonic parts of the HRV are the hottest subject for study in all of medicine, because it's so indicative of immune health. So every doctor knows the difference between VLF and HF harmonics in your HRV, because it's so important to your health. So when you analyze that ratio, you can find out if you've got deep sleep, which is critical.
Okay, so just to show you you see, well, again, in colors here, the different frequency which are coming, and you see the different part of the night. But what is very interesting is to see the curve that I just showed you before, with the little light blue part on the lower part of the which are related to the deep sleep part. And in fact, as iPhones have also a special device inside that can catch the movement of the iPhone. If you place your iPhone on your bed, and the app can measure if there is some movement of you during the night or not. So if you move in your bed, the iPhone, which is placed on your bed near you, will move a little bit, and we can make a recording of this movement. And you see this. These are in orange here. These are the movement of your iPhone during the night, and you see that
accelerometer.
Yes, it's an accelerometer. Yes, and you see that there is a perfect relationship between the movement of your, well, let's say, of your of your body on your bed, and also what's happening in your heart rate. And there is a perfect fit between the different parts, and so it's working for just analyzing the deep sleep part of the night, and you can get you can make a recording of each night during a certain period, and then you can see the progress of the history of the deep sleep part of your different night. You see there is a graph showing what's happening, well, the deep sleep part of your night, and also with your how did you feel this night, and also related to the moon. Sometimes when you sleep better in different phases of the moon.
We're, as shaman and for our Jedi school, we're emphasizing that eventually the skill to be able to lucid dream is critical to taking memory through death and evolution in general. And so the ability to lucid dream, part of that skill starts with being aware if you're getting access to deep sleep.
What's happening? So that I didn't.
Patrick, sometimes when it exports to PDF, it loses a label or two, unfortunately.
Yes, I'm trying to get the next one.
But maybe the next one is the next PDF, is it? You have to change PDFs at this point? You know how to change PDFs, you remember?
Yes, but it's not what I was looking for. Maybe just a second.
So we divided Patrick's presentation into 5 different PDFs because Learn It Live couldn't accept the full size. You can switch between PDFs, you know how, Patrick.
Sorry, yeah, okay. Strange. No, I have lost a part of. Oh my God. No. Okay.
Would it be in a different PDF for you, sir?
I'm looking for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Lisa is saying what brilliant programming.
No, there is the 2.1 is missing then.
Wait. Just go to your bottom left there. It should show it. Wait, maybe I can help.
But the 2.1 is missing. Maybe you can.
Okay, one moment. I'm switching. One moment.
Yes. I'm
one moment. I'm 2.1 is there, isn't it? Wait, cancel.
No, it's 2.2.1. You play, but there is the 2.2 was split in two, and there is another one which is 2.1, which was in the previous folder.
Okay, one moment.
Sorry.
One moment. Actually, this is going to take too long. 1 second. Patrick.
You want me? Maybe I should try to upload it.
Well, now I've started. It won't let me get started. 1 second.
I'm sorry.
Actually, 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe we should entertain questions. Well, someone asked about Android option, and I explained that the investment and time delay would take a bit of time.
Unfortunately, it's not, well, maybe one day, but no, not at the moment. We don't think about it.
And
another question, maybe.
Maybe you want to say a little bit that you've applied this to life force and pyramids, etc. Maybe that would be, of course, I guess a different time here. This upload is going to take about another 2 minutes here.
Okay.
I should have had you upload it. It's too late now.
Well, maybe I can explain a little bit the why I'm so interested in all these frequencies and waves and well,
yes.
In fact, I have learned osteopathy, but in a school where we are healing people, but using the famous craniosacral wave that I show you above. You can see here. You still display the. Then
unfortunately,
what is display? No, I don't have access. I cannot show.
Yeah, in order to upload the file, I had to take the lectureship, and I have this slow connection. But it shows 80% here, so just a minute.
Well, in fact, when I was learning osteopathy, my teacher told me that there was a close relationship, and he published it this time a long time ago. But there was a close relationship between a blood pressure wave and what we learn to feel with our hands, and in fact, it's not easy to catch with the hands, and you have to learn for quite a long time, and to accept that it's not easy, and it's like tasting good wine. When you make a lot of practice, at the end that you finally feel it, and you can, and so when you catch this wave. Okay. I think that's it then.
So that sensitivity to be able to feel that fascia long wave in the body is the beginning of sacrocranial skill. And we even found that sacrocranial practitioners were the ones who could feel the harmonics in trees as well.
Yes. And so that's the reason why that I begin to work with this specific light sensor, to measure inside the body the wave that osteopaths feel with their hand. And so it was the first device that I built was used in the school to help students to get this feeling with their hand, because it's not easy. And it's much easier with when we have a feedback with a device. And now we have much better sensor than before. It's easier to work with iPhones, and so I have designed it for iPhone. And then after we all this information, we made a lot of new analysis and to create to display the coherence and all these things, all this new kind of analysis we have done. Then can I get the
Oh yes, remember that it's been shown that if your sacrocranial pump is pumping, it's clinically impossible to be depressed. Let me see if you should be now. Yes, you should have control now, Patrick. Sorry. Now I hope that works for you. Okay. Sorry for the delay. So sacrocranial is so critical for Kundalini and bliss and all the other facts, and to be able to measure it is the genius of Patrick.
Okay, so I just talk about the iDrive apps, which are for iPhone and iPad, and but related to specific sensor. So if you want also to have the blood pressure, you need a specific sensor you put on your finger. But you can also, for the night recording, use a Polache strap, or use the Polache strap to make the coherence breath and things like that. But there is also, we are talking about out coherence, and there is also another app which is displaying the EKG. So with iThrive, we only can display the pressure wave and the HRV, but we so the electrical component that I talk about was extracted from the variation of the heart rate. But here, with the other device, which is a device which is designed to get the brainwave, but we have made a small program that can allow this device also to be used to get EKG, and it's very, very simple to get your EKG. Okay, and well, I will. Well, in fact, with this EKG, it is possible to get the emotional balance. Maybe you know or you remember that. Maybe Dan, you can explain the. Yeah, okay. This part here from your previous art tuner. Dan? Okay, I will explain. Well, in fact, what Dan has done is that when you are analyzing the EKG and you are taking the spectrum, in fact, if you are making a second analysis of the spectrum, you will get what is called a cepstrum. And this cepstrum, when you're in a coherent state, will display a peak, and the size of the peak. So this is a display of the old tuner of Dan, which is a device that he used a long time ago now, and in fact the more you will be in a coherent state, the biggest will be the peak. And also the position of the peak will also tell you in which state you are. And you can, if you are near 1 here, you will be in your head. And the more you will go up to 0.6, which is the golden number, the more you will be in the heart. And so we have now with this new device here, which is in fact also used for brainwave, we can display the same kind of information as we can get the EKG. And so you can see, if you are doing for one person, you will have your coherent state, but also how do you feel if you're more in the head or more in your heart. And you see here, it's possible to, by adding some wrist and making the connection from the wrist to the headset here, you can get the emotional balance of 2 different persons, and see if these 2 persons make the connection to each other. So if they're in empathy from one to each other, then the 2 peaks are coming closer. So you see here, and here there are 2 persons which are in love. So they're in the heart, and the 2 peaks are very close. So it's the frequency of the peak is about 0.6 here, and they're very close. So they're really related from one to the other. And then I've talked a little bit about, in the beginning of my presentation, about the different frequencies which are inside the body. And in fact, the Flaming Mind and Flaming Sound apps, which are not directly related to HRV and to art parameters. They can also produce some sound you can listen to, and these sound in fact are created according to the golden ratio scale that Dan is defined by this equation. And in this app, you get the possibility to create and to listen to the specific sound which are generated by the Terafear device. In fact, there are, well, as I already told you, and there are a lot of relationship between the different frequency inside the body and the different organs. And in fact, what we are doing is to create a beat, a music beat, between the left and the right ears. And this music beat is about, so it's a binaural beat, and binaural beats sometimes are not catched by the you don't feel them, but there's something they're making some
binaural beats are famous for being used to induce bliss and altered states,
yeah,
even lucid dreaming, Brother Charles, etc. So binaural beats are very powerful, and what Patrick has done with them is outstanding.
Yeah, but in fact, maybe I can explain why I've designed this part. That when Dan asked me to try to build a new device which should replace its old art tuner, which were measuring the brain waves, and try to find a new Bluetooth sensor, which is now the Muse headset. And he wanted for me to measure bliss. And well, okay, we made some experiment. It seems that it was okay. It was possible to do it. And then while programming, the problem that I had is that while programming, I had to test the bliss, my bliss state. And while programming, it's not easy to be in a bliss state, because most of the time something is not working, and you have to test or to get and to reach, well, some state which is near the bliss state, and while you're stressed or you're hungry, it's not working at all. And so I was looking for a way to get into this bliss state, but in a most easy way for me while programming. And so like that, I could check my programming of the app. And so I get the idea that if the frequency that were defined by the equation of Dan, and that these frequencies were used by the Terafear, normally they should put you in a specific state that could bring all of your pieces together. And so I said, okay, well, let's try to generate the frequency, to hear them, and maybe it will help me to be more relaxed and to check the brain frequency that I was measuring. And I got the idea because we needed some kind of binaural beat, or to induce a binaural beat, and so as we have inside our body a 0.1 hertz frequency of the blood pressure, and this is an healing frequency used by osteopath. So what I've done, I've created a beat. So a movement from the left to right here, which will be at a frequency of about 6 times per minute, so it's about 10 seconds. And so while doing these sound waves, so these frequency, which are golden ratio frequency, and sending them with a specific beat of 0.1 hertz, or also it's possible to get lower frequency, which are related to the emptiness of the brain ventricles. And it was working fine, it helped me a lot. And so what I decided to, as it was working for me, I said, okay, but let's put it in the app. And so it's now also in the app, and in the app you can also listen to these special frequencies, these special sound frequencies, which help you to to clean your mind, to relax, and as I've talking about the beat, and you see this is a recording of a Tibetan boil, and in fact the Tibetan boil are working the same way. You see the Tibetan boil was recording with a stereo mic, and you see there is a completely shift, a 180-degree shift between left and right channels. And that's what we are doing also with the sound generated frequencies.
Remember, we originally hypothesized that the right and left hemisphere would be 180 degrees out of phase to phase conjugate, both in brainwave and sound. So in any case, it's that heterodyne between hemispheres which would be ideal for perfect conjugation implosion. It's a profound concept.
Okay, so this is what we get in the app. So it's a special table that allow you to choose what you want to send as frequency. So you can select the part of the body you want to work with. You can select the beat. You can select if you want to shift or not. Well, there are a lot of powerful sound waves that can be created. And in fact, there are now, I can zoom on it, there are now a new kind of headset that instead of sending sound wave through the air, they are vibrating, and so they can send the sound directly to the bones. And so if you use this kind of headset, you will send directly the frequency, the generated frequency, to your internal ear, and it's completely different than from the external air conductivity, which is with normal headset.
I think they call it bone conduction, and yes, it's more piezo. It's more direct. It's also sometimes how they bypass the ear for deaf people, and it's a very profound way to get your binaurals.
Yeah. Well, in fact, it was very, very expensive a long time ago, but now they are very, very cheap, because when the people are children are running in town, and they put their headset on their ears, and so they don't hear the truck coming, and so they get accidents. They got crashed by the truck or by the car. And so now with this kind of sensor here, they can still hear what's happening around them while listening music. So it's now very easy to get it. You can get it on Amazon. It's called bone conduction earphones. Also in this app, what is possible to see, is that there is a part in the app which is also connected to HRV sensor. And you see here when you are generating these very slow rhythm, so the 0.1 hertz or frequency beat of the cascade of golden ratio frequencies. There is an influence on your HRV, and in fact here this is a part of the app which is recording your HRV, which is here in red, you see, and this HRV is moving while you're listening to these special sound frequencies. And in pink here, these are the beat of the sound. So the app catch in one side the beat which is inside the frequency which are generated, and also your HRV. And you see that after a while there is an entertainment between the frequencies which you're listening to and your HRV.
That is such a beautiful example. So there's some HRV capability built into Flame in Mind as well, and in this case showing that not only is the binaural affecting your HRV, but your brainwave, your heart-brain entrainment is also indirectly measurable as well.
Okay, so this is the famous headset which is used for brainwave. This is the Flame in Mind app, and you see on the lower part of the screen there are three big buttons. One which is using the sound wave, generating the sound wave. If you select this one, another one in the middle just to make the connection to the sensor, so the brain wave sensor or the HRV sensor, and then the third one is the analyzer. And in this analyzer there are different parts, and you see first of all you see the headset is like it's very light device, very easy to use, and you see how to place it, and okay, and here you can make a live session, or you can also make a recording and play it back afterwards. And there are different parts on the screen, and the first part is the frequency spectrum of the left and the right part of the brain. You see the different frequency which are coming, and the different part of the different range of the frequency of the brain. So the alpha, theta, beta, and so on. And so this is the first part of the analyzer. And here you have the raw data which are displayed. On the right part, there is a second analysis of what's happening here on the first graph, and we are measuring. Well, it's a special way of analysis that help us to display the symmetry between the left and the right hemisphere. What we can see also here is the movement of your head. So if you're moving your head, you will see here the movement of your head, which will be displayed. Here on the lower part, just what I show you, the HRV, because here it was we decided to also make a recording of HRV and also the sound wave, which is going from one ear to the other, you see. And in fact, what is very important to measure bliss is to see the relationship between the different frequencies which are appearing in the spectrum. And this is the analysis which is done here, on this part here. We are looking for, maybe I hope that I have, yes, okay, I have it here. So you see that when you have this kind of spectrum, you can have a look between the different peaks, if it's if there is a relationship with golden ratio or not, or if there is a relationship with octave or not. And well, Bliss state is much related to golden ratio, and when you get octave ratio, it's much related to telepathy. Am I right, Dan?
Yes, it's important to say that these ratios between peaks are ratio of frequency, not amplitude. But yes, in practice, we think that golden ratio between the brainwave harmonics indicates conjugation, implosion, centripetal force, and indeed bliss and peak experience. But we have, and we've replicated that many times, and yet we have significant examples of people who make octave harmonics in their brainwave, and that does seem to be a more telepathic kind of experience. So it's very significant to document whether you're making octave or golden ratio harmonics in your brainwaves.
Okay, and so the app is analyzing the relationship between the different peaks which are appearing here on the left and on the right part of the brain, and well, there is some kind of summary here. And this summary here, well, in blue you will have the golden ratio which are appearing, and in pink the octave ratio, and so you will get the summary here. Okay, so this is well, I just showed so this display here. I will enlarge it on the other slide. Okay, so this display will be an indicator of what's happening during your session or during the recording. And so you see that in blue, you can see here. So in blue here, it's the evolution of the golden ratio. Here, the octave ratio. The vertical green line will be when the alpha peaks are the same on the left and on the right part of the display, and the more you will get yellow here on the top, the more you will be there will be a symmetry between left and right hemisphere. Okay, I have to change. Okay, we are coming to...
So in summary, in that display, you separately can look at when you simply have alpha, and when you're right-left alpha, when the right-left hemispheres are in train, and whether you have octave or golden ratio all elegantly in one display.
Okay, so now we are coming to the famous flow, which now we can measure with the Flaming Mind app. So, in fact, I already showed this this kind of graph here, and there are a lot of new research that has been done trying to understand what's happening. I'm sorry. So to see what's happening when people are doing very difficult and very strange things. So like walking on a wire 10 meters high, or this guy which is making a 7-minute apnea, or also some musicians, and they're now they have the ability to measure what's happening inside the brain during this kind of special things that are happening. And they've seen that there is a very slow wave which is appearing, and also that the front part of the brain, which is normally activated here, is completely disappearing during these kind of things. And only the back part of the brain is working.
I think, Patrick, it's important to emphasize that when Patrick means in the flow in the new flameinmind.com, it means the brain is in the pure, instinctual, instant reactive phase where there's no time to process the next move. It happens almost instantly. And so that instinctive, very fast response happens primarily in the rear brain, the amygdala, the back brain. So that's why back brain dominance characterizes athletes who are performing so fast their response time accuracy.
Okay, thank you, Dan. And so, well, in fact, this special state, which is called the flow, is a very special state because it's a state where there must be you must be active, so you must be in movement, and you have the ability to perform a movement, but with ease and pleasure. It's very important, but it should be some kind of challenge, and so you need a little bit of stress, and you must be also in a great pleasure to do it. So when you see that, I go back to the, okay, you see so you need a part of stress, because there is so there is a certain level of stress you should have to get in the flow. So and you must be completely related to what you're doing, and don't think about anything else, and you're just in a, well, let's say you're in present moment, and in fact you're activating you see the motor part of the brain, and this the sensory part of the brain are working together, and they're in phase. That's what's happening.
So I think that was a beautiful slide, Patrick, that you're on that beautiful tightrope center between bored versus frazzled. You're in the flow. You're right on the edge.
Yes, this one, yeah, yes. Here.
Yeah, that's a beautiful slide. I like it.
Yes.
And so this is the point, that athletes or anyone, even someone who's doing bombing or anything that has to be highly intuitive, we've got to be very accurate. But to be very accurate, you have to be extremely relaxed, extremely focused, literally in the flow. And the point here is that's teachable by teaching your back brain to be focused and your front brain to be relaxed. And that coherence is what we're newly able to measure with the 4-channel EEG, measuring front versus back brain coherence, new in flameinmind.com, thanks to Patrick.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's come to the app. I hope this is the one. Yes. Okay. So what happened in the previous app? We are measuring mainly the back part of the brain. So because to measure the bliss state and the cascade between the different frequencies which are appearing during the bliss state, the best response are a response from the back part of the brain. And so to measure the flow, in fact, what we need to display is also display what's happening in the front part of the brain, because that's what we are looking for, that we are looking if this front activity of the brain is disappearing, while we get a beautiful cascade and beautiful peaks in the back part of the brain. And so you see that now this is what was before, I can show you. Okay, on the previous app, and now we have added a new spectrum, which is appearing here in black, and this is the front brain spectrum. And what is important is to measure when you're in the flow. And you see here, it's a beautiful example, because when you're in the flow, you get beautiful alpha peak or beautiful theta peaks. And also what is important is to see that the size of the spectrum of the front brain, which is now in black here, should be very, very lower than the spectrum of the back part of the brain.
And if you go to the link there, I put in the chat window, flameinmind.com/intheflow.html, where Patrick has assembled the psychological research literature showing how important being in the flow has become so important to sports and other peak performance requirements that it's actually been researched extensively. And so you see the links in the research literature there. And the point is, ours is the first app to make that teachable very powerfully yet economically.
Okay, and so what the app is doing is trying to extract a lot of information to see if you're or not in the flow. And so there are a new dashboard that will summarize the different type of analysis, and you see that you will get here a bar regarding to what's happening in alpha if you get a beautiful alpha peak, another one regarding theta peaks, and then you have here in black the size, the ratio between the back part spectrum and the front part spectrum. So the more this bar will be, the biggest will be the flow. And also here regarding to the back part of the brain, the back brain spectrum, this bar here will display if there is a golden ratio, octave ratio, and so, and the white bar here will summarize, will take care about all the previous one. And the more you will have the result, the biggest bar here, the biggest will be the white one. And also what I have done, well, to help to see what's happening, I have designed some kind of big eyes here. And this eye, you see, the more you will be in the flow, the more the eye will be open. You see here the eye is closed, and here the eye is open. And the biggest, let's say the summary or the average of all the other things that we are extracted from the different waves, the biggest this white bullet inside the eyes will be.
Patrick, Billy Weisberg asked a fun question. He asked, is back brain active and front brain off related to longitudinal waves and action at a distance? I think what Patrick is focused here is that the back brain is dominant and front brain is more relaxed, which is to say less active, less amplitude during in the flow. But separately, generating golden ratios, we believe, generates longitudinal waves and therefore longitudinal embedding, and therefore action at a distance.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Well, so again, it's the same kind of analysis that it was done with the previous app, and you see, but this is summarized here in the different part of the on the dashboard, the new dashboard, which is appearing there.
it's beautiful that Patrick has incorporated all of that. So once you get used to it, the movement of the parts of that eyeball tell you at a glance whether you're actually making the octave golden ratio, the coherence, the dominance in the flow. It's all visible in the eyeball once you get used to the app. It's very powerful.
Yes, yes.
I put that link in the chat window about golden ratio creating conjugate and therefore longitudinal, fractalfield.com/conjugate mind for those interested in studying action at a distance.
Yes, thank you, Dan. Well, another way to explain it, you see, well, unfortunately, the front is in yellow instead of black, but I think this is a good example. You see, when you're in the flow, you get a beautiful alpha or theta peak, and with a beautiful symmetry, you get a bigger spectrum amplitude from the back part of the brain compared to the front part of the brain. And also you see that you can get also a beautiful cascade between the different frequency which are appearing in the back part of the brain. And these are all the things that we are measuring with this kind of display. So the more the eyes will be open, the more you will be in the flow.
Yes, and so the question was, is it the blue bar that's indicating golden ratio? Because the question was, which bar do you look to make longitudinal waves, and which is golden ratio? So the golden ratio is indicated with the blue bar, is that right? Yes, phi ratio blue.
Yes, light blue. Yes, yes, yes.
So that's the bar that needs to grow if you're making longitudinal. Like, for example, we think that's how Ingo Swann lit that thermistor with his mind at a distance, literally how we named the app flameinmind.com.
But well, in fact, the brain waves are, it's not easy, and that's the reason why it's very interesting to make some recording and play them back afterwards and see what's happening, and because these states, even the flow, because normally when you are in a bliss state, it's stay a very short time. It's a second or half a second or something like that. It's very a small moment. But when you're in the flow, you can stay there for minutes, and then you will have the different parameters which are display, but you will see you're in it, but you are losing it a little bit and then coming back, and then but in fact you have to make some kind of averages because it's changing all the time. But when you're in the flow, it's almost stable. It's almost stable.
Patrick Hayam is asking, can I have the front brain turned on during the flow? I think what we're saying here is that the front brain can have coherent harmonics, but if you're in the flow, those coherent harmonics will be higher amplitude in the rear brain.
Yes,
the harmonics in the front brain will be lower amplitude, indicating the rear brain is dominant.
You can see here. You see in black. This is the front.
The rear brain's in black, and you see it's lower amplitude.
Yeah, it's low amplitude and it's flat. It's completely flat. You see there are. You see in the back part, you have a beautiful symmetrical peak in alpha, a beautiful one in theta, but in black here, which is regarding the front brain, is flat. Because you're in the flow. When you're in the flow, there is nothing left on the front brain.
Was that your harmonics there, Patrick?
I'm sorry, Dan?
Was that your measurement there, or was that your brain waves?
Yes, it's a screenshot of. It's a shame that we can not share the
active
video or something moving.
Yeah, but because that looks like almost octave harmonics there. Interesting.
Yes.
But to answer Ham's question, then you may have some coherence in your front brain, but it would be much lower amplitude in any case. To be in the flow, the back brain would be much higher amplitude in any case.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, but maybe we can. Well, maybe we can answer some questions, or I think, or maybe you still have something to tell them.
Well, yes, I just would like to point out a bit of the history of this. You know, years ago, we got excited for brainwave measurement tools for meditation and bliss teaching. And there was something called the Awakened Brain by Cade, which resulted in a powerful EEG measurement tool called, what was it called? It was called the Mind Mirror. And it was a very, very slow, very crude version of the kind of display we had now. And we learned that golden ratio there was the goal. Even though they didn't measure golden ratio, they in fact described it as being basically a bliss state. So they showed a waveform which was classic to bliss. So it was a crude beginning to what we now have in much more powerful tools to teach and measure bliss and peak perception, peak performance using brainwave tool. And the fact that they're all now available in tools that are so economic. So then after the Awakened Brain and Mind Mirror, which cost thousands of dollars, I then invented the Bliss Tuner, which was $2,000 to $3,000 approximately, which at least measured golden ratios, not as sophisticated as we have now. And now we have something that costs only 10 to 15% as much that does 10 times more. You know, the software Flame in Mind is a couple $100, and the Muse, depending on when you buy it, 200 to 250 sometimes available. So the hardware and software here is like 9 times less expensive, but 10 times more powerful than it used to be. So really, everyone who's looking to do deep trance and bliss meditation training, remote viewing, that kind of thing, plasma projection, you know, binaural beats, we have the most powerful tool ever at a price that's very reasonable and wonderful. And much of this is thanks to Patrick's incredible dedication. Yes, Patrick says, hope my English was okay. Shelley says, your English was great, Patrick. So, and yes, actually, Billy's asking how to upgrade to the new version of Flame in Mind. Actually, the upgrade is free. If you've already purchased Flame in Mind, you just click on upgrade on the App Store.
Yes,
upgrade.
It's done automatically, yes, yes.
Automatic and free. So if you purchase Flame in Mind, the upgrade is free and available. And Patrick is consistently upgrading, and more options are becoming soon. We're going to be doing some plasma control and lots more stuff coming with Flame in Mind. You're going to see lots more magic coming in the future, thanks to Patrick.
Yes, and in the next version, I will improve a lot the frequency generator.
The frequency generator that generates the bliss binaural harmonics will be able to do all kinds of new things as Patrick upgrades flameinmind.com in the future. So if you want to get on this fun wave of the world's most cutting edge tool for brainwave meditation training, join our team with Patrick and get flameinmind.com and the Reasonable Muse headset from with it. So thank you everyone for joining us. Unless there's any more questions. Lisa says, what incredible information, like an operating manual for the human body. Thank you as well. And Chad is saying, thank you, Patrick. So I think there's accolades to you, Patrick, for all your dedication. Thank you for making this shareable.
Yeah, thank you very much for for being there and for listening. So it's a pleasure to share all this research and all this information.
And we will make this video available very soon, probably within 1 to 2 days, both the Learn It Live version of the video, which will include the chat window, and later the YouTube version, which is usually seen by thousands of people even in the first week. And so stay tuned at fractalu.com. And soon we have all these plans for fractalu.com actual campus where Patrick will be teaching with us, and the new online school for Jedi Shaman, the JediSchool.science. So Patrick will be back with us soon with many new developments. Stay tuned. Thanks a lot, Patrick.
And thank you too. Thank you. And you.
Blessings, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah,
See you
blessing
soon.
everybody. Thank you.
Stay
Thank you for
tuned.
being there.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Jan. Bye, Shelley. Thank you, Billy. Toodles. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.